next article. Can I just rest? Guilt, the 4-day working week, and what to do with the fifth day. So, um, some countries, and I'm sure they'll share about this. I think it's France and then one other like Nordic country have 4-day work weeks. A few cities have done trials and companies have done trials, and it turns out that a lot of like typical what we understand as work time isn't like necessarily like our main like prerogative. It is like fluff and social and um, transitioning between doing different things often takes a lot of time. Some places there can be a lot of like energy just to get into something, um, and a lot can be done with like a focused creative block that doesn't necessarily need as much time as the job. Like when the job description was read out, if you can get done in less time, like why not reclaim some rest? um, so that is my background going into this article, and let's see if that changes at all. This is an article by The Guardian and Celina Ribeiro. Okay. As support for the 4-day working week grows, we wrestle with culture of achievement and busyness and feelings of guilt and accountability. The clatter and clamor of the morning is gone. The pace of bare cups, cereal bowls stacked, the sound of my footsteps down the hallway. Everyone's gone off to work, off to school except me. I work a 4-day work week, and today's my 5th day, the day of not work. So what do I do now? Around the world, the 4-day work is inching towards grasping distance. For many, I am living the work-life balance dream, living in some imminent utopian future in which, in return for decades of increasing productivity for relatively little increases in pay, and she's sourcing it there, in light of the global epidemic of stress, the 4-day work week becomes the next great shift in the way we structure work and leisure. This is okay, says economists and employers, because actual productivity does not decline when workplaces shift. And from this side, I report it's good. It really is, but it's complicated. Um, because the 5th day opens up, one starts to feel the weight of its infinite potential, and the questions start to pile up. What will you achieve on that 5th day? Can you just justify a non-work on a weekday? Can you stop work seeping to that day? Or can I just rest? I feel that sometimes as like an entrepreneur and like being my own boss is I like letting the work seep in, and even though I could take multiple days off, not taking them, even sometimes when um, I am like burnt out and I'm taking like half a weekend. So maybe let's see what insights this has. Until February, I worked a 4-day week to accommodate childcare. My 5th day was work, caregiving work. I didn't view the day as work, not really. But assigning it that word made it easier to explain why I was avoiding work on that day. As my youngest child prepared to start school, I was talking with a friend. She too worked a 4-day week. What I do with the work without caregiving work to justify it, an additional day off felt somehow wrong, selfish, and unproductive. Not so long ago, being able to pursue or enjoy leisure for its own sake was a marker of your elevated place in hierarchy. Now our busyness, the demands on our time, writes sociologist, has become a key signifier of social status. Yeah, and especially in like some online cultures and like industries. I don't think most people like that. They just accept it as part of climbing the corporate ladder and or staying in it. Um, where in many religions periods of rest are dictated, and ancient Greek philosophers extolled leisure and freedom as the key to a virtuous life. Today we have come to suffer not so much from the delusion of the love of our work, but rather the belief that our working selves are our definite selves. 8 years ago, philosopher Bertrand Russell, in calling for a 4-hour working day, suggested a great deal of harm is being done in the modeled world by belief in the virtuousness of work. In praise of Artemis, I wonder if what kind of facts he sorts. That's it. Article for another day. And nearly a century of rapid technological and social advances and the workification of leisure, and we arrive at a point where, as writer Jenny Odell put it in a 2017 speech, which kicked off a genre about rest, it's possible to understand the practice. I lost myself. The practice of doing nothing solely as a self-indulgent luxury. So with some trepidation, privilege, and shame that I applied to my friend, no, I think I'm going to keep that day. Okay, how much longer is this? Okay. In Belgium, 2019, women's organizations flipped its staff onto a 4-day women's organization. Okay. At the outset, the female workforce was hopeful. More than 4 in 5 wished to prioritize personal time and 60% more time with loved ones and to live healthier. Just over 2 in 5 said they found more time for themselves, and 25% reported feeling like they had more time with their partner. The time freed up from doing less paid work was, the study found, mostly was spent on household work. But if you get the household work done on Friday, then you don't have to do it on Saturday or Sunday. So it just, this is not to say that unpaid work hours made up for paid. The total working hours of these women decreased. Employees did experience less household stress, less leisure time pressure, and better work-life balance. The report found that by reducing working hours, the chances of work invading family life decreased. Once I decided to keep to a 4-day week, what followed was a continuous mental calculus as how that diet might work. My greatest fear was that the day might disappear in housework, like the Belgians. The Belgians have it and then they get taken away. Or somehow in 1,000 tiny pieces of inconsequential busyness. I feared I would not rest, and I feared I might rest too much. That's an interesting dichotomy. I would steadfastly not work. Take no calls, check no emails, but I could not escape the feeling that I must be accountable for that time. The idea of rest came with a specter of guilt. A 2019 study, the Rest Test, led by psychologist and BBC radio presenter, found that for many the people, the prospect of resting was associated with anxiety and guilt. What have I learned about anxiety lately? Okay. And so, I plan my day with precision. In the morning, as I return to an empty house, I embark at least 2 hours and no more than 2 hours and 45 minutes of housework. It is precise. I set alarms. I do stuff. The floor gleams. This is my insurance against guilt. At no later than midday, I stop. I have drawn a box around in a time. In the middle of the day, as if by thick felt text. What? This is my time for no purpose other than my enjoyment of it. I leave the house, and from exactly 12:15 p.m. to 1:15 p.m., I go to an exercise class. Nice. That I love. Nice. That hour cannot be broken apart or given to anyone or anything else. And this, it is rest. This is my insurance against resentment. It's amorphous time from one. From 1:15 p.m. until the school day ends is amorphous time. I haven't quite figured out what to do with it or who it belongs to. My day began with 12 things on my to-do list and ends with 9. I listened to 3 great podcasts. In my local cafe, I've read one fascinating long article and, unhurried, stared out into the middle distance without guilt. The day is not magical, but as it ends, I feel somewhat lighter, less stressed. I feel grateful. I feel ready for work. Lordo Lordo. Do you have it on Monday then? Experience in evangelism. Come amid a flurry of books. Here's the books. Why we need to transform. These are work less, do more. It's a recent one. Maybe I'll get one of these onto my list. Work less, do more sounds pretty nice. I'm down. The running theme is a preoccupation with time in society where many feel we have not enough of it. Grappling with rest and leisure in a culture which views low productivity as both an economic and an individual failing, and perhaps a fallout from a pandemic in which many of us, time slowed, work morphed, technology marched, and we had to face the question of what it is we actually value. There's an era of movement about in these books, a sense of reclaiming our rights to be lazy, and this was first floated in 1883 and largely ignored ever since. Or at least freed from the need to be both productive and demonstrate that productivity. We must work to seize and redistribute the wealth that is time, writes Lemming. When we have done that, we must commit to the work of giving it all back to each other. Oh, that's nice. Demands for more time away from work have been successful. Great shifts in the way we order and work leisure time. When electric lights kept shop workers laboring longer than before, the early closing movement demanded a reduction to a 12-hour working day. As industrialization increased productivity in Australia, workers ultimately activated and achieved an 8-hour day, 5-day week, claiming that more time for leisure would enable workers to improve their social and moral condition and be better fathers, husbands, and citizens. Technology has driven more productivity out of workers. Now it's their right to reclaim. In 1932, Bertrand Russell wrote, "Here it's so. We have continued to be as energetic as we were before there were machines. In this we have been foolish. But there is no reason to go on being foolish forever." Braden for a voice actor? Yet here we are in the age of most magnificent machines burnt out. Hear ye, hear ye. Are we now at a moment where our forever foolishness ends? Stay tuned. It may not be that the 4-day work week revolutionizes our minds as much as it might revolutionize our schedules. It'll take more than a shift in logging on and logging off times to truly disconnect ourselves from the impetus to work ever more, including what Adele calls the work of self-optimization, or from the view that leisure's purpose is to recuperate or distract from work. But it is, perhaps, another stone on the road to the fabled promised lands of work-life balance, to a place, in short, where we might see our time as ours. Okay. Yeah, like I said earlier, I connect with this as like a entrepreneur and founder. This is like a similar battle of like balance and guilt. Especially like when I was running for office last year, and or there's like often events throughout the weekends in certain times of year, like a lot more. And so it breaks down the like the usual what you grow up learning to balance as like Monday to Friday, you're doing a little bit more. But I guess as a kid there's a lot less stress too if you're in a decent situation. So, I don't know. I am down. I think it's I I think I'm down for a society that more chill, and I mean, not only are people more happy, able to rest longer, they're going to deal with less burnout, more be present for like family, and I think like some of those books suggested that like it doesn't really eat into what we're able to accomplish together still. If that is like the last thing you're holding on to, um, and then even then it's like question of like, do we really need to be constantly growing, ever, never ending?